Hello and welcome. I am Harsha Sinha. We continue exploring the science of hydrology that paired the host of water structures in India. In this episode of Building Blocks of Bharat, Arjun Bhagat will start his journey exploring the fascinating step well of Rajasthan and Gujarat. We will then explore lakes built by Mauryas as well as water conservation devices in Rajasthan. So keep watching.
The arid lands of Gujarat and Rajasthan, the problem of water is a profound one. Take the Thar Desert. The area sees seasonal monsoons. But then all the water disappears almost immediately since the silty soil cannot hold water. As a result, the locals here have come up with a series of unique solutions to store water. The area is dotted with talabs or reservoirs, johars, which are small earthen check dams, baoris or community wells, and jhalars, which are man-made tanks. But what are we going to explore in detail is the step well, a most unique system of harvesting rainwater and providing drinking water to these areas. The first well Arjun explores the Chand Baori in Rajasthan, which date back to about 800 or 900 CE. Considered to be one of the biggest step wells in the world, it was built by King Chanda of the Nikumb dynasty. This doesn't look very much like a well at all, does it? So what exactly is a step well? Unlike a modern well which draws water out by a pulley system, in a step well there is a long well shaft and people climbed in to access the water. Unlike a building that rises above the ground, a step well descends underground, so it works like an inverted building. So the side walls needed to be fortified by various structural means to bear the weight. Because of its depth, a step well usually had stairs leading down to the water. The steps were also interspersed with landings and pavilions, so the community could walk deep into the well for water. But the well also became a cool sanctuary for gathering, bathing, prayers and meditation. The earliest step wells most likely date to about 550 AD. It is estimated that over 3,000 step wells were built in just Gujarat and Rajasthan. The architecture of the wells varies by type, by location, and when they were built. There were two common types, the step pond and the step well. The step pond usually has a large open top and graduated sides meeting at a relatively shallow depth. The other is the step well type, which usually incorporates a narrow shaft protected from direct sunlight by a full or partial roof, ending in a deeper, rounded well end. Arjun tries to understand the geometry of Chand Baori. It is neither circular nor square. Its upper part is a square, but its steps gradually shrink as descending downwards. In short, the step well reminds us of a pyramid turned upside down. This incredible structure is 13 stories deep. Lined along the walls on three sides is a double flight of steps. 3,500 narrow steps arranged in a perfect symmetry that descend to the bottom of the well 20 meters deep to a murky green puddle of water. What is astounding in this unused well is the exquisite geometry. The pattern looks a bit like a magical maze. So how does the step well work? The visible architecture basically gives the locals access to an invisible landscape of underground aquifers. Now about 30% of the world's fresh water is underground. Gravity causes water to move downward till it reaches a layer of rock which is not permeable. All the openings of this rock layer are filled with water. This is called the zone of saturation. Just above the zone of saturation lies the water table. Indian step wells were made by excavating the earth till the water table or zone of saturation were reached. A step well is a bit like a pond with still water as opposed to flowing water in river. Because of the inherent properties of water, its force and fluidity, the construction of these monuments had to take these elements into consideration. Geomorphology, which is the flow of underground water, and hydrological conditions also determined the form, size and plan of these structures. These wells also harvested water very efficiently. The large mouth of the well helps since it works as a rain-catching funnel. Step wells usually consist of two parts: a vertical shaft from which water is drawn and the surrounding inclined subterranean passageways, chambers and steps which provide access to the well. The galleries and chambers surrounding these wells were often carved profusely with elaborate detail and became cool, quiet retreats during the hot summers. In the Chand Baori, the steps surround the well on three sides, while the fourth side has a set of pavilions built one atop another. The side that has the pavilions has niches with beautiful sculptures including religious carvings. There is even a royal residence with rooms for the king and the queen and a stage for the performing arts. In addition to conserving water, Chand Baori also became a community gathering place for the Abaneri locals. The townsfolk used to sit around the step well and cool off during the summer days. At the bottom of the well, the air is always about 5-6 degrees cooler than the top. Much as Arjun is enjoying this cooling process, it's time to read off to our next well. Arjun's next stop is the Rani Ki Vav in Patan, Gujarat. This is the epitome of step wells, which evolved from a basic pit in sandy soil into an elaborate multi-storied work of art and architecture. The well was built by the widowed Queen Udayamati as a testimony of her devotion to her husband, King Bhimdev I. Rani Ki Vav is one of the biggest step wells in the country. It is 64 meter long and 20 meter wide. It originally had 7 stories, out of which only 5 have been painstakingly preserved by the Archaeological Survey of India. It starts off with a stepped corridor at ground level, followed by a series of 4 pavilions with an increasing amount of stories towards the tank in the western direction. Arjun wanders through taking in the grandeur of this structure. It is lined with sculptural panels of high artistic and aesthetic quality. More than 500 principal structures and over 1,000 minor with religious and mythological and secular imagery decorate the well. Some of the stunning structures here include intricate carvings of Apsaras, the different avatars of Vishnu, and the mother goddess slaying the demon Mahishasur. Also, there were chambers built in the depth of the Rani Ki Vav. Here, the royal families could rest in the summer months. The water from the well acted as the natural air conditioner, and temperatures at the bottom of the well were often 5 to 6 degrees cooler than the surface temperatures. As he walks around, Arjun contemplates the simplicity of the stepwell design. The steps basically reach down into the surrounding water table. During the monsoon, when the water is high, water levels will reach the upper steps. As the water level drops, the descent can be longer, but the water could always be reached. The steps also narrow down as you descend to minimize water that could evaporate. This well highlights the artistic and technological expertise inherent in the stepwell tradition. The use and conditions of stepwell began to decline in the years of the British Raj. They began to install pumps and pipes and eventually outlawed the use of stepwells in some places. So, those stepwells are testimony to the technological, architectural and artistic mastery achieved at a stage when water was predominantly resourced from groundwater, streams and reservoirs. They today lie in varying states of preservation: dry, desolate and deserted. There is an attempt today to revive these stepwells to play a part in water conservation efforts that are so important today. Due to many Indian structures, including these innovative water sources, there is a distinct identity in the world of Indian architecture. This is the reason that UNESCO has included Ahmedabad city into the list of World Heritage City. The city of Ahmedabad was settled in the 15th century by Ahmad Shah on the banks of Sabarmati River. This city offers spectacle of architecture in which many smaller forts, doors and walls of walled cities, mosques and tombs are important.
So we discussed lots more exciting topics, but many are still left. Stay tuned till the break. Welcome back after the break. So let's start with the exploration.
During ancient times, artificial ponds and lakes were created to create easy access to water. The rock edict of Rudradaman at Junagadh, inscribed in 150 CE, speaks about the Sudarshan Lake of Junagadh, built originally by the great Mauryan emperors. This was possibly one of the first artificial lakes built in India, though it no longer exists. Records show that the lake had been continuously maintained from Chandragupta Maurya's time up to the very breakup of the imperial Gupta Empire, a period of nearly 800 years. Sometime in the 9th century CE, the great embankment, over 30 feet thick at its base, holding back the waters of lake, finally gave way. It was never again repaired. Let us move to a lake still in existence right now. For that, we will need to travel to Bhopal, the capital of Madhya Pradesh. Bhopal is a well-planned and fast-developing city. Adding romance to this environment are the lakes of Bhopal. In fact, the city gets its name from Bhojpal, which means the dam of Raja Bhoj. It is this dam that feeds the upper lake, the largest and the oldest of the city's lakes. This lake, also known as Bada Talab or the Big Lake, supplies 40% of the city with water. It was built in the 11th century by Raja Bhoj. This, along with the small lake or Chota Talab, together constitute the Bhoj wetland. The upper lake is said to be the oldest existing man-made lake in India. Let's see how an artificial lake works. One of the most common ways of making a lake is by building a dam over a river or a stream in a valley. River water backs up behind the dam, creating a reservoir, which is a man-made lake. The valley sides act as natural walls, with the dam located at the narrowest practical point to provide strength and support. So, in the case of the upper lake, engineers built an earthen dam across the Kolan River, a tributary of the Betwa. From here, a waste wire cuts through the solid rock of one of the lower hills. Its position that provides further proof of the practical ability of the engineers of the time. Any error in levels would have quickly destroyed the dam, which, though stone-faced on both sides, was filled in by earth and could not have withstood heavy outflows for long. The Barbara Dam, a set of 11 sluice gates, was constructed at the southeast corner of the upper lake in Bhopal in the year 1965. This is used to control the outflow of water from the lake to Kaliasot River, and it prevents the water of the upper lake from overflowing. The Chota Talab or the lower lake was created much later by Chote Khan from the overflowing water of the upper lake. It collected water in the form of a small lake, which is 1/10 of the size of the Bada Talab and is named Chota Talab. So much understanding and technology went into the building of these ancient water-saving devices. In a time when water is in crisis, we decide to explore one old device that has been revived very efficiently. Let us move back to Rajasthan for next exploration. One of the most drought-prone area is the Alwar district in Rajasthan, where all water sources were drying up, thrusting people into abject poverty. However, the locals have revived an ancient technology to save their parched villages. This area used to have a number of johars, which are large crescent-shaped dams made of earth and rocks. These ancient structures, which date back to 1500 BCE, were designed not only to hold runoff from monsoon rains, but also help this water percolate into the ground and help improve the water table. A johar served two functions. On the surface, it held water for livestock, but like an iceberg, its most important parts were below the surface. By holding water in place, it allowed the liquid to percolate down through the soil. It recharged the aquifer below, as far as a kilometer away. Stored underground, the water could not be lost to evaporation. in the midst of the dry season. Villagers could always count on plenty of water from their wells and irrigated fields lush with wheat, mustard and beans. However, these large earthen structures require substantial manpower and were typically community projects. One family could not build a johar. It took a village. But because every villager had a stake, residents banded together to build and maintain them. Between 1985 and 2007, almost 8,600 such structures were built in over 1,068 villages across 6,500 square kilometers. The impact of these johars was spectacular. The water table, the depth underground, from where water may be extracted, rose from about 100 meters to between 13 meters and 3 meters. Now, 4,500 working johars dot Alwar and 10 adjacent districts, fed by a protected watershed and the revitalizing impact of the village reservoirs. 5 once dominant rivers now flow year-round. Forest cover has expanded from 7 to 40%. Land under cultivation has grown by 5 times, and farm incomes are rising. And for water, these days, women need walk no farther than the village well. The ancient johar has been at the heart of the water conservation work in this area. With India's groundwater level dropping and an increase in pollution levels, ancient ideas like this humble earthen dam can help stem the tide.
So we are more or less done with our exploration of water resource management of India. We have seen the most varied and innovative water structures reflecting the geographical and cultural uniqueness of our nation. Keep watching Building Blocks of Bharat and don't forget to share your suggestions on feedback@indiascience.in. Till then, good day.